No. I just look upon them with disdain as a proper Wisconsinite would.
Okay. Disdain.
It's Commander Time!
Welcome to Commander Time. We are yet another podcast about the Magic the Gathering format known as Commander. And today, it's just me and Patrick because Dean has frozen his computer in a literal sense. It's very cold there, and his computer thinks that Kelvin degrees is Fahrenheit degrees, and it thinks it's overheating, but it's not. It's doing the other thing. It's going the other way. And the hard drive.
Yeah. He's pretty sure that he actually literally froze his hard drive a little bit. So,
yeah.
And I'm not a computer expert, but that sounds bad.
Yeah, so Dean won't be here. Dean Goody. He would say Dean Goody right around the time I say, I'm Nate Burgess, because that's me. That's my name.
And I'm Patrick Cipolla.
Yeah, so that's us.
Yeah, he would have been right in the middle. Mm-hmm. I felt a little weird, actually.
But first, we're going to talk about Patrick's, I might have to redact the title, Zurgo Helm Smasher deck, and it's all about sacrificing ball lightnings.
Yep. So we'll start off by just reading Zurgo Helm Smasher, and then we'll just kind of go through the reasoning of a good portion of it, but it attempts to be a ball lightning tribal deck. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So Zurgo Helm Smasher is a orc warrior for 2 red, white, black. He's a 7/2, so he big. Mm. And he has a bunch of words on his text box, which include haste. Zurgo Helm Smasher attacks each combat if able. Zurgo Helm Smasher has indestructible as long as it's your turn. Mm. And whenever a creature dealt by Zurgo Helm Smasher this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Zurgo Helm Smasher.
Okay. Does that come up very much? Do people try to block him?
Yes, they do. All the time. Because otherwise he kills you in 3 hits.
Yeah. You don't give him tramples?
I don't really care.
Okay. You're just punching.
Yeah, I swing because I have to. He knows no other way.
Okay.
And I mean, he's a very good distraction for all the ball lightnings I'm trying to cast. Either take 7 commander damage or 6 damage from this ball lightning. So let's go ahead and read the. We'll start off by just actually telling the people what ball lightning is.
Okay.
Ball lightning is a 6/1 elemental for red. So already right off the bat, that's 6 damage for 3 mana total. It has trample and haste. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice ball lightning. Mm. So it's almost like a sorcery that just deals 6 damage to somebody's face with the option of taking out a creature or 2.
Right. Something might choose to block it if they want, but it's got trample anyway.
Yeah, something might get in the way. Yeah. And you don't really care if it's going to get blocked anyway, because it's going to die at the end of your step, at the end of your turn. And it's 6 damage. And a lot of times, people underestimate exactly how much 6 damage is. 3 damage is you kind of just be like, oh, whatever, it's just 3 damage. But 6 damage, people are like, well, it's only twice as much as 3, so that I don't have to block that. Right?
Yeah, and you're only going to do it once, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so, like, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of the theory behind the win condition of this deck, which is to swing with as much power and as least amount of toughness as possible, I guess.
Probably with trample and haste.
Yeah, preferably with trample and haste. And so the deck is filled with as many ball lightnings. Yeah, as many as those that made sense. There are a couple in there, a couple of not so great. ball lightnings that I just did not put in because they are not good. But for the most part, most of them are pretty right on par with ball lightning. The newest one is Lightning Skelemental, which I didn't highlight for this, or everybody's favorite Spark Trooper. And yeah, that's the red-white version with lifelink added to it. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we took your deck list and we compared it to Zurgo's EDH rec page. And since you're doing something that's different from what a lot of Zurgo decks are doing, there's a lot of cards here. And we can get into the details of cards that Patrick chose that you, the listener, might not have already considered when building your Zurgo deck.
Yeah, so there are a couple of common things between this deck and normal Zurgo decks, and largely because it turns out that Ball Lightning Tribal kind of leans into the theme that a lot of Zurgo decks already take in terms of just loving board wipes. But because, when you have an indestructible commander on your turn and you have a bunch of Ball Lightnings, it doesn't really matter if you board wipe a lot, because you're going to be losing your board no matter what.
So do you have many of those?
Yep, I got a bunch in there. They're not super interesting or anything like that. And if you've played against a Zurgo deck, you know that they're going to be coming. So let's talk about the more interesting parts of the deck, where we want to get additional value out of the creatures that we have out temporarily. So I designed this deck to be a little bit more aristocrat-y than anything else, because after I attack with these creatures, if nobody blocked them, I might as well, maybe
throw them in the garbage.
Yeah, throw them in the garbage. They've done their job and they're going to die, so I may as well, use their bones for something.
But sure, they're elementals. I don't know if they have bones.
Use their
vital essence. Yeah,
their vital essence for something. So the first couple of examples of this is going to be Mayhem Devil. Yeah, which was a favorite of ours when it was initially released, and
it still is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is still one of my favorite cards. It's 1 black-red for a 3/3 devil. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. Why? I'm going to be sacrificing something at the end of each end step that I can, just do something with. And it also just happens to hit other people all the time. So I get this out and somebody casts good old Sakura Tribe Elder. Oh, I just love that. I just love throwing a little ping at their face after they go looking for a basic land. That's what they get. What are you doing? Trying to ramp. Gain advantage over these things. Another example from right around the same era is Judith the Scourge Diva, another 1 black-red for a 2/2 human shaman. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. So I'm making my Ball Lightning 7/1s instead.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, which is spooky. And she also has this. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith the Scourge Diva deals 1 damage to any target.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost another Mayhem Devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also have things like I have like the usual Viscera Seer and other kinds of effects like that. And there's also a couple of sacrifice outlets just for fun and giggles, but it's basically an aristocrat's deck that I have to do on my turn, which it's a lot of fun. I got to be honest.
All right.
But yeah, probably the coolest thing to be added to the deck as of late, which is Greven Predator Captain. 3 black-red for a 5/5 human warrior. He has menace. And Greven Predator Captain gets +X/+O where X is the amount of life you've lost this turn.
Okay.
Whenever Grevin attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you draw cards equal to that creature's power, and you lose life equal to the creature's toughness.
Okay, so if your deck's full of ball lightning types with high power and low toughness, then that's how you're drawing cards.
Yeah.
And you're not losing much life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a bummer that you don't get to swing in with a 6/1 on the turn. But on the other hand, it's a draw 6 for 3 mana, which is pretty cool if you don't mind me saying, you know? And if there's one thing that you should know about this deck is that you will lose, you just won't have a hand for the most part, because you are casting your thing and then it dies, and then you aren't refilling it very quickly. And once you get up to 6 mana, you're casting 2 ball lightnings, hopefully. And then...
but you need to get 2 ball lightnings in your hand. Yeah,
so you know... sometimes you have to cast other things, unfortunately.
Dang.
I know. And so...
Okay.
Yep, no, go ahead.
So, let's see. You've got Lightning Serpent here. That's another type of ball lightning that I guess you can just pay as much mana as you can into it.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is actually my favorite ball lightning that I have in the deck. I was a little dubious at first because, well, let's read it. Lightning Serpent is a elemental serpent for X and in red. He's a 2/1. He has trample, haste, and Lightning Serpent enters the battlefield with X +1/+0 counters on it. At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Lightning Serpent. So the reason why I was a little dubious is because it's kind of mediocre if you just play it for red. But on the other hand, it's really flexible. Like, really flexible. And in a 3-color deck, just having the 1 red versus the 3 red that ball lightning is huge. Also, that I can just make it at, like, infinitely big at any point in the game just is great.
How you get infinite manas?
I don't, but, you know, I could if I wanted to, Nate.
Okay.
I mean, what if somebody gives me infinite mana? I don't know. What am I going to do with it?
How often does that happen?
We'll talk about it later.
All right.
Maybe never. I don't know. Hey, you guys, you could give me infinite mana later. I'll pay you back.
I'll pay you back. With infinite interest. So you've got a few ball lightnings, and they take their swing, and then they get sacrificed. Are you reusing them? Are you bringing them back?
Oh yeah, that's kind of the. I mean, yes, of course. There's. If you're only going to be using something once, you're probably you're running some sort of fair deck, you know, and I'm not all about those fair decks. I'm about having fun, and that doesn't usually mean being fair. So the first of which we can do this is a good old artifact that is near and dear to my heart, and most people misunderstand how it works. It's Lifeline. It's 5 colorless. For an artifact, whenever a creature dies, if another creature is on the battlefield, return the first card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the way that it works is that when a creature dies, a delayed trigger that checks whether or not there is another creature on the battlefield. If there is, you can return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. And it doesn't, and a lot of people read this card and they always think that it only happens to the first creature that dies. But no, it's every creature gets this. It's the first in the
word
text
first is confusing a little bit.
Yeah, the word first is confusing. The word that first is actually just referring to the creature that died. because it's no longer a creature when it's in the graveyard.
So nothing dies anymore. Everything keeps coming back.
Everything dies, but then they just come back.
They don't stay dead.
No. The only way to get rid of it all is if everything is dead. So a board wipe just kind of makes you kind of frown and just be like, but why? I was having fun bringing back my ball lightning every other turn, because it's at the beginning of the end step, so it sticks around for a turn, and then you have to sacrifice it. It gets the trigger, and then it comes back at the next end step.
Right, so these ball lightnings, they're not talking about your end step. They're just talking about the end step. Yeah,
so something like Sundial of the Infinite doesn't work here.
Dang.
Well, it would work on your turn, but then at the beginning of the next end step, it would die anyway. So it's kind of it feels like a wasted slot to me.
Yeah. Okay. How about this Oversold Cemetery? 1 black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, are you planning on doing that? That might happen.
Yeah.
You may return, probably will, target creature card from your graveyard to your hands. I get to cast it again.
Yeah. Is it the most exciting way to return creatures from your graveyard to your hand? No. But it is 1 black, which is pretty nice in terms of just being able to get it out early in the game and then have people forget about it. When it suddenly becomes relevant and you just, reach your hand over to your graveyard and pick out your favorite creature and then put it into your hand, and everybody goes, hey, what are you doing? And then you say, well, it's this enchantment over here that's been out since turn 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then they all look at you and they all go, why didn't you tell us about this? And you said, I did. It was just 15 minutes ago. I'm sorry, you can't pay attention to my board state. Next, we have the next category of cards that I've kind of put into the deck, which is abusing the fact that they are coming into the battlefield and then dying effects. Mm-hmm. You could run things like Impact Tremors or Perforos or something like that, but I feel like we can do a little bit better, and we don't really have a lot of high-end mana cost cards. So let's talk about Stalking Vengeance instead. 5 red for a 5/5 avatar with haste, and whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. So that's 6 damage to somebody's face at the end of my end step. Or at the beginning of my end step. Yeah, that sounds pretty sweet.
So you kick him in the face when the I don't want to say that. You get them when they're coming out, but also you want to smack them when they're coming in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you got Warstorm Surge, 5 red enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target.
Yeah. Yeah, so you do a little bit of the in, a little bit of the out, and then also in the middle with the swinging. So if everything is going perfect, if everything's going perfect, you do 6 on enter the battlefield, 6 from combat, and then 6 from leaving the battlefield. So that's 18 damage in one turn against one person.
All right.
Which is almost a third of somebody. No, wait, no, that's almost half of somebody's life.
Yeah.
So
you can pull that off a few times.
I mean, you get a damage doubler in there, and everybody's going to be very annoyed at you.
Mm-hmm.
For the low cost of a lot of mana. And nobody paying any attention. So
let's see, 7 mana plus 6 mana plus whatever the
3 mana.
Yeah.
plus another 5.
So, what's the 5 for? For the lifeline?
Manage doubler.
Okay.
Unless you're doing like Furnace of Wrath, in which case we can bring it down by 1.
All right. So that's about 20 mana.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you get 20 mana somehow,
maybe
you're
someone will give you infinite mana and you can use 20 of it.
Exactly. Now, finally, I want to highlight the kind of a little bit of a small pet card for this deck for me, which is Angrath the Flame Chained. He's a planeswalker for 3 black-red. Comes in with 4 loyalty. He has +1. Each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. I guess that's useful. It's not what he's in here for. What he's in here for is -3. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste until end of turn. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step if it has a converted mana cost 3 or less. So I essentially turned somebody's creature into a ball lightning, and that's pretty exciting to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and at worst case, I do have a bunch of sack outlets, so I can just use it as a removal spell as well, and that also is nice. And finally, he also has a ultimate of -8. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in their graveyard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He usually doesn't stick around that long.
Nope.
People don't like discarding cards, Nate.
Well, they
or
were planning on using those.
Yeah, I know. I wonder why.
They got to see the card and they got to think about what they could do with it, and then they don't get to do it.
Yeah, and then they lose 2 life. Ugh. Such a waste.
Okay. Let's see. We already talked about why Sundial of the Infinite doesn't work for saving your ball lightnings. But have you considered this card that I'm going to suggest? It's got lightning in the name. It's Lightning Coils. It's an artifact for 3, and it just sits there. But whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you put a charge counter on the Lightning Coils. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 5 or more charge counters on it, remove all those counters, and you get that many 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste, and you exile them. You don't sacrifice them, but you could if you got your extra sacrifice stuff. You exile them at the beginning of the next end step.
Oh my god, I misread this card initially. Why am I not running this?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I should be running this.
It seems like it's on theme in
It's 100% on theme. Yeah, I initially read it that I only get 1 3/1 elemental. Which seemed...
however many counters there are. Which might be 5 or
more.
Yeah, if people haven't been paying attention and they're doing all their board wipes during their turns, then...
oh my goodness.
It might get around to your turn and you have like a couple dozen counters on there, which turn into a couple dozen 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste.
Oh, excuse me while I go over to... I'm gonna have to find a copy of this and then put it in my deck and then use it and then poke fun at people when they aren't paying attention again. This is a very good deck that exploits when people are not paying attention.
Do you have any on-table distraction techniques?
Ooh. Usually I just try to keep them busy with jokes. Just keep going. I just be like, I'm a humble lightning elementalist who you don't need to worry about me. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that Zurgo swings in for 7. He can't help himself. You should forgive me. I will attack somebody else next turn. I mean, or just like, hey, you can block him. I don't care. You put +1/+1 counters on him. He's there. He's only in. He's only around for this. Just ignore this ball lightning that is coming as well. I know my distraction techniques could use a little help. Maybe I should look into like some sleight of hand.
That comes close to like cheating at cards, which
You're right.
if you're playing a card game, you might not want to do that.
Yeah. Maybe
might give the wrong impression.
You don't need to worry about it. This is just the back of a ball lightning. So it still counts as it's just upside down. No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So maybe just try to point at other people's faces. That might work.
Just with your hand? Like with your finger?
Yeah, like, hey, look at that guy's face. He looks suspicious. He might cast a counter spell. Like, but he's playing mono green. Yeah. Watch out.
Watch out. Let's see. Do you kill people with fling very much?
It's happened, and it's usually used it's usually there just to spite somebody for doing, like, you use it in retaliation most often. Like, what do you mean you're blocking with a bigger creature than 6? I don't agree with that. I'm gonna fling this at you. Also, at some point, Zurgo gets to the point where people are just going to block him no matter what, and you just need to push in a little bit of damage, and why Zurgo is going to be quite big.
Because he's got the counters on him?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I will say that there's a lot of ways you can build Ball Lightning Tribal, including mono red or 2 colors with red white or red black. You can also go up to 4 colors. I guess you could even arguably do it with red green, and it's a lot of fun. If you are in need of a aggro style deck with a little bit of a twist, this is a great spot for it.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll stop.
Visit us at patreon.com/commandertime.
You can find me on Twitter at Grubfellow, where I tweet using the hashtag DailyEDH every day.
At Detective Yarmits.
At Mr. Plorg.